Alright, so in the previous video, we set up Pocketbase, installed all the dependencies, and set up the project in our code base. So in this video, we're going to set up authentication. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the lib folder inside the source folder and delete the initial file. Then we're going to create a new file inside the lib folder called main.css. In this file, we'll create one style called body. We'll create a body style and we'll take away the margin. So we say margin 0. Close that file. And then we create a new file called constants.ts. Constants.ts. So we say export const auth cookie ref is equal to auth cookie. Now you can close this file. And in the lib folder, create a new file called pocketbase.ts. So at first, we're going to export a store called pb, which will contain the current state of the Pocketbase. So you'll see what this means. So at first, we must say Pocketbase or undefined. And the initial state will be undefined. Let's make sure to import Pocketbase. So we say import Pocketbase from Pocketbase. Let's make sure to capitalize this. So we say if we are not in the browser. So if we're server-side rendering, we just return. We don't set nothing. So if we are in the browser, we say const Pocketbase instance is equal to new Pocketbase. And we say HTTP localhost 8090. The way we get this URL is that we open up the terminal and we go into the Pocketbase folder, cd Pocketbase. We say / Pocketbase serve. So you see, we have an API we have an API route, and we have the admin UI route, and the initial server is on localhost or 127.0.0.1 8090. But it could be either localhost or this. But for now, let's just copy and paste this just in case. Copy and paste. And once we have the Pocketbase instance, we just set Pocketbase instance, and that's it. So now you can close the file, and in the lib folder, create one last file called types.ts. So at first, we'll create a type called game. So it has a game ID of string, current player is X or 0, player X is equal to string player O question mark, so it's a conditional, so you don't have to pass it in by default, is a string, so it could be undefined or string. We say game is of type board. We say active is of type boolean, and the winner, which is optional, can be X or no or 0. So then let's create a new type called board, which is an array of arrays of X, O, or 0. So we create array of array. As you can see, this exact game type is the same as our schema for our game. So let's just log in. You can see that if we go to games and we do edit collection, the same fields that we created last video are going to be inside the game type. And finally, let's export class game not available error extends error, and that's all we're going to do. So now let's open up the app.d.ts file, uncomment locals, and then we just say Pocketbase. Pocketbase is of type Pocketbase. So let's close this file. And in the source folder, create a new file called hooks.server.ts. Let's make sure to take off the curly braces. And then let's create a function called const handle. And this is going to be our handle hook. Async. This is going to be basically the middleware that runs on every single request on the server. So we say event.locals.pocketbase is equal to new Pocketbase. Let's make sure to take off the curly braces. New Pocketbase. We say ht and make sure to paste the server URL. And then we say pb.set, which is going to be the Pocketbase store that we created. pb.set event.locals.pocketbase. Then we say event.locals.pocketbase .auth store .load from cookie. And we say event.locals.headers .get cookies cookie. Now we say event.request.headers or an empty string. So you can see that we get the cookie from the header, or we just return empty string, which means that the auth store hasn't been loaded. So you say const response is equal to await resolve event, and then we say response dot headers dot set. We say set cookie. Let's make sure to event dot headers. Then we say event dot locals dot pocketbase dot auth store export to cookie, and then we say secure is equal to false. So you can see that we load the cookie, we validate the response, and let's return the response. So once we create the response, we add an extra header that says we set a cookie to the auth store cookie, and then we just return the response. Let's make sure to change these bangs to question marks. And let's close this file. Let's go to the routes folder and open up and create a new file called plus layout.svelte. So I'm going to create script lang ts. We import the main.css file, main.css, and we just slot. This imports the main.css file, which contains the body styles. So now let's create one new file called plus page.server.ts. We say export const load is equal to async. We make sure to take in the locals object, and we return authenticated is locals.pocketbase dot auth store dot is valid. And we also say that this satisfies page server load. And to get the page server load function or type, we have to do npm run dev. Once it's done running, you should see autocomplete that lets you import the page server load from $types. So then just save the file and let's close it. Now in the page.svelte file, delete all the default markdown as the script lang is equal to ts. And we say export let data is of type page data. And by the way, if you don't get the import for the $$ types, it's because you're not running the npm run dev. You have to run the npm run dev so you can get the autocomplete for these types, for these auto-generated types. So let's close this. Let's create a header called tic-tac-toe using SvelteKit and Pocketbase. And then we create an if else block data.authenticated. So we say if we are authenticated, create an anchor tag to /g/create. In the next video, we'll create the G folder, which will be the file for the actual game. So we create a new game. We put this inside the authenticated block. So if we aren't authenticated, we create a div with a class of links. And we say A plus P plus A to create two anchor tags in the middle with a paragraph in the middle. And we say or. And we say log in for the first one, sign up for the second one. And we link this to the login page. And we link this one to the sign up page. So let's create a style block. And we say dot links display flex gap 1 rem align items center, and then we say font size 1.5 rem. So now you can see that if we are authenticated, it shows us a link to create a game, and if we aren't authenticated, it shows us a link to either create an account or log into an account. So let's close this file and let's create a new folder called auth. So we say auth with parentheses, and you'll see why we have the parentheses. So inside this, we create a new file called plus layout.server.ts. So whenever you see a folder with the parentheses on it in SvelteKit, it means that this is a shallow route. Not that it's a shallow route, but I'm not sure what the term is right now off the top of my head, but it just means that the layout does not affect other files that aren't inside of this. So if we create a route, for example, login, this layout.server.cs will only affect this login route and not these other ones. And if we create a new one, let's say game, the layouts in this folder will not affect these ones or these ones. But the login page will still appear like this folder does not exist. You can access this login just by saying the website name /login. So let's open up the plus layout.server.ts file. And we say export const load async. We say locals. We always say that it satisfies layout server load. So we say if the locals.pocketbase.authStore is valid. So basically, if we are authenticated, we throw a redirect with a code of 303 to make sure that it's permanent to the home page. So by default, we'll just return an empty object. Let's close this file. And let's create a new folder inside the auth folder called sign up. Let's create a new file inside the sign up folder called plus page.server.ts. Let's do export const load. Now let's do export const actions. Let's create a default action, which is going to be an async function that takes in the request object and the locals object. And then we say if locals.pocketbase.authStore is valid. So if we are authenticated, we just return because we don't want to run any signup logic to us. We don't want to run any signup logic to a user that's already logged in. So I'm going to say const form data is equal to await request dot form data. So we get three parameters from the form data. We say name is equal to form data dot get name, and let's do it 3 times. One is going to be email and one is going to be password. This is going to be email, password. Let's create a try catch block. And now let's do some validation in the try block. I'm going to speed through this part because I'm going to be honest, the validation doesn't really matter, but you could always copy it down from the GitHub link in the description. And finally, once we ran all the validation, we say await locals dot pocketbase dot collection users dot create. So then we create a new user and we give it an email, a password, a name, and a password confirm, which is going to be the password. And now once we create the user, we log into user using the .locals.pocketbase .collection users. So once we create the users, we do auth with password, and we say email, password. And now let's go to the error block. Let's go to the catch block. So if there is an error, we console.error, error. So we say if the error is not an instance of error, we return name, email, password, and we say error is equal to unknown error occurred when signing up user. And then if it is an instance of error, we say error dot message. We say name, email, password. So by default, we're going to throw a redirect 303 to slash. So now that the sign up validation and the sign up logic is already done, we can close this file and we create the markdown for this file. We create plus page.svelte. And then we create a script with the language set to TS, TypeScript. We export let form action data. And then we create a H1 that says sign up. We create a form with the method of post with no action because by default, because our server action is the default action, which this form will default to. So we say input, which is going to be a type text. Name is name. Placeholder is name. And then we say value form dot name. And if it's null, we just set an empty array. And let's copy this down 3 times. There's going to be email. And there's going to be password. And finally, we create a button of type submit. That says sign up. And if there's an error, we just display some text saying form error. Create a paragraph, form.error. And we create a paragraph tag saying, do you already have an account? And then we just link them to the /login page if they do login. So now on the login page is going to be very similar to the sign up page. So let's create a plus page.server.ts. And we could even copy and paste down the logic from the sign up server to here. And all we're going to do is just take this out. And let's make sure to remove the name, because the login doesn't take in a name. Let's do right here. Let's remove the form data get name. And that's it. Then we could copy and paste the markdown from here. Go to the login page. Create a new file called pluspage.svelte. Paste this. We could rename this to login. Remove the name input. We say log in. Sign up. And then we say don't have an account. So if you don't have an account, you can go to the sign up page directly from the login page. So now let's go to the dev server. You click on this link inside the terminal. Let's zoom in a little bit. And let's make sure to remove the cookie, because in development, I also had a cookie. So let's go to storage, cookies, remove this. Let's close this. And you can see that we go to login or sign up. Right now, let's go to sign up. And we can say name is whatever at email.com. And we could just make a random password with 8 characters at minimum. So if we set 7, you can see that password must be at least 8 characters in length. It says make it 8 characters. You see sign up, it works. And if we go to users and we refresh, you can see that we have a whatever at email.com user. And if we go inspect element, let's remove the cookie. We could go over to the login page. We could say whatever at email.com. Put in the password that you also used. We'll use login and it works. Thank you for watching. I hope this served you some value, and I hope you stay tuned for my next video.